Zach Collaros out for week 5 as the winless Winnipeg Blue Bombers look to get their 2024 season on track without quarterback number 1. It will be Chris Streveler's offense to get things going, and we'll see how the Blue Bombers navigate from there against their former number 2 quarterback, of course, Dru Brown, who leads the 2-1 Ottawa RedBlacks into Winnipeg on Friday night. What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside GameDay Winnipeg, your Blue Bombers pregame show. Of course, joined by, as always, the legend, Chris Walby. Bluto, let's start with the major news here, and that is no Zach Collaros for the Blue Bombers. Should people be really concerned right now with this team sitting at 0-4 now without their starting quarterback, at least for this week, maybe longer? We do not know. But how important is it just to get a frickin' win for this Blue Bombers team?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, when you're 0-4 going into a team that already beat you in the Ottawa RedBlacks, you want to make sure that, you put your best foot forward. But I think it's a good move. I don't think you should dress Zach right now. I don't think Zach is healthy, and I wouldn't risk him long term. Remember what they say, right? It's this is not a race. It's a marathon. You got a lot of games left. I thought that Chris Streveler, when he came in, struggled a little bit, but at the end, he seemed to get into some rhythm, let him down the field nice, took off, used his legs, extended plays, led him to the tying touchdown to Wolotarski. So, yeah, I think it's a good move. I mean, listen, Chris can beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his arm. I was happy to see him finally throw a football. It took 4 games to him to throw a football, but at least he did. But to your point about Zach, no, you got to arrest him. He is still the guy that stirs the pot. He stirs the drink. He's the, he's the middle of the wheel right now. He's the guy that makes everything spin. So I'd rest him. I don't even have a question about it. I just hope Streveler comes out and gets rhythm early, because we really don't know if what Terry Wilson, the backup now, who is listed at number 2, can bring us. So, and you don't want to go to 0-5. I don't care what they say.
Well, the Bombers are going to have to try to avoid going to 0-5 without Zach Collaros to catch people up. Last week in Calgary, Collaros took a hit kind of right to the chest, right around the maybe the bottom of the rib cage. So it's officially listed as a thorax injury. What's the thorax? Sounds like a body part of a insect. Well, it is. That is a body part of an insect. It's essentially everything that holds the legs, the arms, and the head and neck, right? So if you decapitated somebody, took them off at the neck, the shoulders, the hips, got rid of the legs and arms and head, what remains? That's the thorax that holds all the organs of the body outside of the brain and the skin overall. So Collaros, I thought it was a good indication, Chris, that we saw Zach Collaros come back onto the Blue Bombers bench. He emerged from the locker room following halftime a little bit later than the rest of the players, so we knew he wasn't going to return to the game, but he was still in his uniform, didn't have his helmet with him, in a ball cap, and he emerged from the locker room with team chiropractor, Dr. Gerald Olin. And that tells me that, this injury maybe is to the ribs or, somewhere, the sternum, whatever it may be. When you say, Chris, that Winnipeg should rest him and that this is a good move, what we're presuming, I think you and I are on the same page with this, is that this is not a serious injury to Zach Collaros. But do you feel that if Collaros was healthy to play, if he was healthy enough to go in there, let's say he was 85%, is that a strategic decision by the Blue Bombers to say, hey, we're so desperate for a win, we're going to dress Collaros now, deciding to not dress him. He is on the depth chart, but he won't dress against the RedBlacks. What's the strategy in there in your mind?
Well, I just think come on, man. Obviously anything he gets in the chest, whether it be a rib, whether it be a thorax, wherever that is, your throwing motion is affected. He can't throw the football. So why would you even try to put him in a game where he might get it even worsened, by somebody? Remember, he got tackled by the defensive tackle by Calgary. The guy is a monster, 348 pounds defensive tackle, and he just crunched him. Legal hit. I know some people were saying it was under the chin, the helmet. No, it was right on the chest. It was a good hit, and I'll be honest with you, that's a lot of weight to fall on a slimmer guy. So, I mean, I just think that it's a good move by O'Shea. I wouldn't risk my season, and I call it the season, by putting Zach in there and further implicating an injury that might be, as I say, as you stated earlier, not as serious. So give him some time. Let's see what we got. We got Streveler back. He's had a little stint in the NFL. I watched him play in the, if we all watched that, and I know it's history now, but when he was with the New York Jets, and the head coach of the Jets said it was one of the most remarkable exhibition seasons he's ever seen by a young man coming in. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that didn't translate into a job, but still, he's got the capabilities. When he got into a rhythm on that last drive against Calgary, against Calgary, I was just blown away how he looked so efficient, threw the ball with some pizzazz, hit his receivers. Nice job of hitting Wolotarski for the touchdown. Obviously that the interception came on pressure. He threw it. It was almost like a prayer when he threw it up in the air. And of course, you got DeMario Houston, exacting some sort of revenge on the Bombers and the team he just left. So I'm curious. I'm curious in a positive way to see what Chris Streveler brings to the offense tomorrow, because I think he can really open up that non-existent, and I use that term really, non-existent run game there, DB.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Buck Pierce cooks up for Chris Streveler, right? Because they're going into this game knowing, they went into this week, I would imagine, knowing that Chris Streveler was going to run the offense. And while Collaros is on the depth chart, just so everybody knows, by league rule, you need to dress, quote unquote, dress 3 quarterbacks for the game. So he is listed as the number 3. He's not on the 1-game injured list. Collaros is not on the 1 or the 6 or anything like that. He is on the game day roster. He'll get a check, but he will not actually dress, will not actually suit up for Friday night against the Ottawa RedBlacks at Princess Auto Stadium. And you touched on you touched on Chris Streveler last week in Calgary, how, your words had a lot of pizzazz on the ball. And, I thought he looked very comfortable, much more comfortable than he did back in 2018 and 2019 in his first stint with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think he has matured. I think he has developed, but I also feel that the same skills that he is good at and that maybe he is not so good at stand true today as they did 5 years ago with Streveler and the Blue Bombers the first time around. He can make all the throws, but the accuracy does go away sometimes, Chris. That's a concern.
Well, my big thing is that I think he's going to present a huge problem to the Ottawa defense. I love the fact that he can beat you with his legs. You know what? You got a tank coming at you, when he rolls out. Now, he'll take off on a ball in a whim. He'll just see, I'm holding it, I'm gone. He sees any crack, he's gone. But the fact is going to put so much pressure on that defense to keep him in the pocket, to make him throw. That's what they want to do. That's what Ottawa RedBlacks want him. They want to make him a pocket passer. If he starts to half roll left, half roll right, he's got the option, either run or throw. And that puts that defense in a bind, because I don't care who you are. You could be Adarius Pickett, who's a great football player. You got Frankie Griffin, the other linebacker. Do you want to come up and meet him? No. He breaks a lot of tackles. I remember last year in Saskatchewan, last time he played with us, I think he broke 5 tackles. He is a horse. And I think it's a different animal that the RedBlacks face. I don't think his decision-making is as quick as a Zach Collaros. He may not read the defense as fast as a Zach Collaros, but I think the fact that he can get outside and beat you with his legs and buy himself extra time is the bonus points that Chris Streveler has.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a look at the Ottawa RedBlacks depth chart, and specifically on defense, because that's who Chris Streveler and the Bombers offense will be going up against. And it's led by a front six, even front seven, that I don't know, like the talent is almost it's amongst the best in the league, Chris. Lorenzo Malden is an absolute mauler at defensive end. Bryce Carter, very, very talented young defensive end in the CFL. Cleon Lang, we're all familiar with him, the Canadian defensive tackle. You mentioned Frankie Griffin at weak side, Javan Santos Knox, our old pal, at middle linebacker. But I want to draw attention to Adarius Pickett. And I know I preach that this SLB, Sam linebacker, or the dime back spot, this is a defensive back spot. Chris, mark my words, okay? Adarius Pickett could be the most versatile, dangerous, impactful player in the CFL today. Not only can he rush the quarterback, stop the run and play in the box like a linebacker, cover both running backs and receivers coming out of the backfield or going downfield. He can drop back to safety. Not only can he do those things, tackle extremely well, be very, very smart with the football or watching the football. But Adarius Pickett gets it done on special teams as well. I think Adarius Pickett is a top 10 player in the CFL today, regardless of position, quarterback, receiver, lineman, whatever. You look out for Adarius Pickett. There's a reason the Ottawa RedBlacks backed up the truck to sign Pickett in free agency away from the Argos.
Yeah, I agree. He's a very strong guy. I mean, you think about this though. Again, I'm going to throw this at you. I mean, he's 5'11". He's 215 pounds. I mean, yes. Does he play bigger than that? Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Does he make plays bigger? Absolutely.
I'm surprised he's 5'11". I thought he was. I thought he was 6'1".
I wanted to bring that to you. But the other thing is, when you're looking at you're going against a guy in a Streveler, he can wear you out pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Now, I do agree this. He is a hell of a tackler. He gets up. He loves to play the box. He's not afraid of making the big plays. They know how to stop any trainers to detrack it, right? You take it off the track, which means you take out the legs. You don't try and take Streveler on up top. You try and take him up top, you're done. You take out the legs, and that's how you have to attack Chris Streveler. But I do agree with you. Lorenzo Malden, Cleon Young, Blessman, and Bryce Carter, they can get after you in that front four. They had 3 sacks the last time they played. They had 2 interceptions. They won the turnover battle, which is a huge thing in any game. When you win the TOs, you usually have a good shot. They've got a guy that we'll talk about too in the returner, and I think probably the most dangerous returner in the CFL right now, and that is DeMonte Denman. I just think he's just a horse. He's already got a 101-yard kickoff return touchdown. He's averaging 13-something yards a punt return. You've got to make sure your special teams got to keep an eye on this guy, because I watched him duke some players, and I said this in all our shows here that we've done in the past. The job of returners to make the first guy miss, and then look for a crack, and then go. I think that man, I tell you, he's dangerous to me. He's scary to me, but I like that comment, bingo bango. I do think Streveler is going to. I think Streveler. I mean, I'm going to go. I'm going to Big Blue. I'm telling you right now, a home game. They're not used to this. Listen, they've lost 7 in a row now, going back to the Grey Cup. It's a long time for these guys to taste the victory. Right now, they're it's like they're eating a 10-year-old hamburger. It's not good taste in your mouth. You want to spit it out. So I mean, they got to get going. So I'm happy we have a backup like Streveler. I know people said we should never got rid of Dru Brown. You're not going to keep Dru Brown. Dru Brown was ready to be a starter. It's done.
Dru Brown deserved a starting job.
Absolutely. And it's about money. I'm feeding my family. Well, do I want to get backup money, or do I want to be a starter? He's in the nation's capital, which is one of the nicest places. Ottawa's a beautiful city. Mm-hmm. Great place to raise a family, great place to play.
And a new offensive coordinator for him and Tommy Condell, who has helped develop and get the most out of so many quarterbacks in this league, including Zach Collaros, his time with Hamilton.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, and you look at Dru, he's basically at 61%. He'd like to be a little higher percentage-wise, completion-wise. But, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's doing a good job of protecting the football. That's one thing I noticed about him. You know, a lot of these rookies are guys that don't have a lot of experience. Well, once they get a little pressure, they'll throw it hoping for the Hail Mary. Somebody's going to come up, climb the ladder, and make the catch. He's not throwing those balls away. He gets them out of bounds. He throws them away from anybody so they can live to play another down. So I'm impressed with Dru Brown at where he is in his career. But if I had to take a Dru over Chris, and I know people are going to say, oh, come on, Dru. I'm actually going to lean toward Mr. Streveler. I'm actually happy that we got Streveler. I think that he has got that Jack mentality. He runs over you, you know, and then you look at the guys, he's taking his tire tread marks off him, and he starts laughing. He goes back to the huddle. If I'm in his huddle, I'm jacked about that. I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it again. So to me, I think we're in a good spot. I think that Brady Oliveira is going to have a monster game tomorrow.
Well,
I think the fact
before we move on to that,
okay,
Chris,
all right, shut up, Walby.
Just hold tight. Your horses. Woo.
I know I got a little carried away. I get carried away.
Want to give a shout out to our good friend Ezra Ginsburg from Illegal Curve, of course, and longtime friend of mine from back in college in the Red River radio station days. Came out of surgery yesterday rather. A-okay. Good to see you, Ezzy, recover quick and recover well. Everybody happy to see you in the live chat today here on Game Day Winnipeg. And got to mention our good friends at Scotswood Links back on for a couple more months here on Bonfire Sports. Like, look, if you haven't been out to Scotswood Links, just 30 minutes west of the city, you are missing out. An absolutely gorgeous prairie golf course, meadowfront 9, treed forest back 9, incredibly well furnished clubhouse, brand new just a couple years ago. Awesome food in the restaurant, beautiful patios, and some of the best golf you're going to get in the province of Manitoba. It's just 30 minutes west of Winnipeg on Highway 2. McGilvery in the perimeter. You'll be there in no time. It's going to be worth the trip. Great rates are available if you go to scotswoodlinks.com. That's Scotswood with 1 T. Scotswoodlinks.com, and you go scotswoodlinks.com/bonfire. You will get a nice discount on a foursome and power cart package. They are just awesome people out there and a beautiful course. I'm going to bring up some more pictures of them in the coming days. But Scotswood with 1 T, scotswoodlinks.com and scotswoodlinks.com/bonfire. And you can also give them a call. Here's the number there right on the screen. 1-888-600-4653 for those listening on podcast. 1-888-600-4653. You're not going to regret going out to Scotswood Links. That's just a one shot there. They have like deep forest holes as well. You're going to really enjoy it. So be sure to check them out to help support us here on Bonfire and Game Day Winnipeg. But thanks again to Scotswood for sticking with us for a couple more months. Great people out there.
Amen. Thank you, Scotswood. Yes, sir. I want to say something about lemon straws. Well, as we're just going there, and thank you to Scotswood. Lemon straws goes, and we were talking about this earlier. Streveler missed some wide open throws last game. Yes, that's when he initially got into the game. He hadn't warmed up, but a couple of throws on the sideline. And that's what I said. I thought he was really kind of off in the beginning, and then he got into a rhythm. But it's a great point, Lemon Straws. He was off in the beginning, but the last drive was perfection. I mean, he was really good until the interception, but that was because of pressure. You got to protect Streveler, too. I don't care who you are. If you want to turn him into the pocket, what is this? No more picking your nose. What is that stuff? My God.
Hey?
No kidding. Guy's in a hospital getting operated on or something. You're talking about picking his nose. Oh, for God's sake.
Well, let me ask you this, Chris, because people are asking me, like, why hasn't Zach Collaros thrown a touchdown pass yet? Why are the Blue Bombers failing to score points nearing or in excess of 30 points? Hockey Mom with a great comment here. The Blues seem slow off the O-line. No quick plays. Success with Streveler came because the quickness that the line had, even though it was rushed because of time. I want to ask you specifically, Chris Walby, nearly 2 decades in the CFL, perennial all-star, the greatest Canadian-born offensive lineman the CFL has ever seen. I'll finish with, checks in the mail, and I'll finish with your resume in a second. O-line play. Does Winnipeg's offensive line need to be better? Are they a reason why the offense is struggling right now?
I think everybody has to be better. You have to look at each other in each individual group. And anybody thinks the O-line is playing great right now is a fool. They know it as well as I do. They know that within themselves they can play better. It's just one of those things. I think they have to come together, like we talked about. Liam Dobson getting to stop. Yes, he played last year a little bit. But again, Eric Lofton at right tackle. It's a new group. It takes a while to gel. But I tell you what, when they do gel, but it has to, you know what? It's like I said before, the running game has to get going. You have to establish the run to have any success throwing a football. One leads into the other. And if you get stopped, the Bombers are at second down conversion are number 9. I saw something on the passes and it was crazy. 7+ yards, DB. They're 16% completion. Number 1, BC, 48%. What a difference. Come on.
Difference aside, 16% is horrid.
I know, but I'm saying first down, you got to get more than a couple yards in first down. Every time you're put down in a second and long situation, you're beating your head against the wall right now, and they're forcing them to throw. Now, I still haven't seen a lot of screens. I know they got more things up their sleeve. I know Buck Pierce is probably going to throw a different kind of game, different little bit of animal at Ottawa, and I do believe we'll see a lot more different because of Streveler. But like I said that, and I kind of jumped the gun when I said, and you stopped me, which is correct. Brady Oliveira, I think, is going to have a monster game tomorrow. I just got this feeling he's going to break out, and I think it's because number 17 gives him the option to keep the ball as well.
I thought this was
one of those things.
I thought this was a great question from Winnipeg Gordo. I'm going to pull it back up. Bluto, is it harder for the offensive line to have Zach Collaros or Chris Streveler behind center?
You know what? And Gordo, that's a great question. I'll tell you why. When you have a scrambler, a lot of times you don't know where he's going to end up. So you may be blocking your guy to the outside, and the next thing, bam, you're just basically taking a quarterback and roll to the right. You didn't know he's going to be there. Where if you have a guy that stays behind center or in that pocket, keep watching the guy. Wash him outside. So, yeah, there's some pluses and minuses of both. But there's also the bonus of having a guy that's in the pocket and you got pressure. And if he can't step up, it's a sack. Or you got a scrambler, he might get outside. So you might luck out on it. But it's funny because every time there's a sack, it's the O-line. Well, it's not always the O-line. It's the receiver. It's the quarterback hanging onto the ball. A guy's running the wrong route. Quarterback's doing the wrong read. There's a multitude of issues that contribute to a quarterback getting sacked. And I'm going to stick up for these boys because I don't think they're playing all that bad. But I'm just saying, to your point, DB, and to Gordo, the O-line can play better, and they know it. And you're just going to have to live with what you have. And I think they know they got Streveler now. He could take off left, right. He can go anywhere. You never know. He might be in the stands eating a hot dog. You never know. But
look, I'll say this, Chris. The task will be different for the Blue Bombers offensive line with Chris Streveler under center Friday night. But
he's harder
in my eyes, this Blue Bombers offensive line and even the defensive line is not the same impactful group just collectively. Not individuals, it's the same 5 guys, or it's these 4, or these whatever. Collectively, this is not the same Winnipeg Blue Bombers dominance at the line of scrimmage, dominance in the trenches, dominance in the physicality battle, winning that physicality battle against their opponent. Winnipeg's offensive line used to dictate what would happen in a football game. Winnipeg's defensive line would dictate opposing offenses, whether they could run or pass or do neither. And what I saw in Calgary was Calgary's defense, and in particular their defensive front, dictate what Winnipeg could do. They would not allow them to run the football. And that was a problem because when Chris Streveler is your quarterback and Brady Oliveira is your best player, you need to be able to run the football.
Well, and they said, that's exactly what Calgary said. We know your throwing ability. You haven't seen it throw much this year, if any. So they're lining 7 guys up in the box. They're lining 7 guys up, but it's tough to run when you got an extra guy defensively as opposed to his offensive block. So I think that's true. But I just think that if you get everybody, Streveler is like a tougher guy to bring down. He's a good quarterback. I think that if you get him outside and run some counters, and I'm talking real counters, not slide protection, kickback. I'm talking real like counters where you pull a backside guard and tackle. But let's talk about the other Achilles. I don't want to call it Achilles heel. That's a terrible thing to say.
The other weakness.
Area
of concern.
One area of concern. I like that word better because you've lost Shawn, you've lost Lawler, two of the best in the league, two of the best in the game. And you got
Dalton
Ontario
Shawn,
Wilson,
that is
Kevin Sears,
such a huge
Josh
loss.
Johnson, Myron Mitchell. These guys, I mean, they're not scaring anybody. They're not scaring anybody. I hate to say
That's
it.
fair.
I mean, you had the other guy that was in. He got hurt. He's left last week. Now you got Myron Mitchell getting an opportunity at receiver.
Well,
I mean,
he's
the
backing
two guys
up
that
Josh
we
Johnson.
thought. Yeah, but the two guys that we thought, Murphy. The two guys that we thought were going to be the most busy was Dembski and Wolitarsky.
Well, of course.
But that's because of the comfort zone. And you're talking why a quarterback hasn't thrown touchdowns or why Zach hasn't thrown a touchdown yet. A lot of the times it's because you're taking away all his
Chris,
all his familiarity.
You got 3
Everything he's
weeks.
familiar with.
They had 3 weeks where their only major injury was Kenny Lawler. And you can't find a way to throw a touchdown pass to Dembski or Wolitarsky or all of it. Like, come on. Yeah, I get it. Now, when you're without the most targeted receiver for Zach Collaros, you're without Dalton Shawn, no question. And I'll mention too, Kenny Lawler no longer has a cast on his arm, but
I saw
that doesn't necessarily mean he is closing in on a return. Sometimes that can mean, okay, yeah, he's getting close to return. Other times it can mean, well, he just had surgery. He doesn't need a cast anymore because he's got a bunch of metal in his arm. So
no,
hold your horses on that, people. I'll just say that. But
sorry,
with how things are right now, you better establish, like, look, when I go on CGOB with Derek Taylor and I say establish the run, he goes $5 fine, your bill's coming. But if you do not establish the run, and by that I mean run when you want to and run when you need to. If Winnipeg doesn't find a way to do that, unlike they were unable to do in Calgary last week, they're going to be in some serious trouble because all you have as far as a downfield threat are rookies and Nick Dembski. The only possession receiver, or, the possession receivers you have are Dembski and Wolitarsky. It's going to be pretty straightforward for the Ottawa RedBlacks to kind of ensure that those guys are not left in one-on-one situations. So Chris Streveler needs to be a good passer, but he also needs to ensure that he and Brady Oliveira are a true run threat, or else it's going to be a heyday for Lorenzo Malden and Bryce Carter and Cleon Lang and all of those guys.
Well, Baron Miles, the defensive coordinator for Ottawa, says right now, goal number 1, take away the run, make the Bomber offense beat us through the air. That's exactly how they're going to play it. They're going to force the Bombers to throw the ball as much as possible. That's why it's important that Streveler and the Buck Pierce and Brady Oliveira, in whatever development they're going to do offensively, get some schemes going to get these guys open running the football to make those guys, because I can play action right now, and the linebackers aren't going to come up because they're like, bull, you're not even running the ball. We'll just drop back and take away your passing lanes. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays. And AJ Hayes, you're right, AJ, fastest beer drinker I ever met. I played with him on the rods way back when. He's one of those guys who could open his throat. That guy got more free beer than I've ever seen.
Oh, you mean like a natural shotgun?
He would take, he'd take a 10-ounce glass of beer and it'd be gone in 1 second. I've never seen a guy do it. But I mean, I've never seen another guy like him do it. He was my hero back then.
Got to pull this up. Head coach of my favorite junior football team and yours, Jordy Wilson, the Winnipeg Rifles head coach, says, and thanks for watching, Coach. With regards to the offensive line, Patrick Neufeld has struggled on defense. Willie Jefferson is not getting doubled. His effort level is not good. and goes on to say he is being paid to be the difference maker. It's time to be one. What do you think of that?
Interesting he says that. Well, I think that there's no doubt that Willie can be. I don't think that he's being doubled all the time. I know a lot of times they'll chip him with a running back, but I watched him play against BC and against Vernon Adams Jr., where he was in a basically soft rush, just trying to watch. And we talked about that in our show, that we wanted to make sure, that I thought Adam Bighill, would be the guy to shadow Vernon. Yet they put, probably the most explosive defensive end and Willie, making him shadow. And that's just stupid, to my opinion. Again, I'm just an armchair quarterback now, but I agree with you. Patty Neufeld is a great point. That's a great point. I think, and you're probably not going to surprise him by saying that. As I mentioned earlier to you, DB, they got to play better. They know it. And you said, are they playing good? No, they're not. Are they playing? Are they playing horrible? No, but they're nowhere near the standard they're used to, and they need to play better. And I think tomorrow's going to be a big test. Clay on Lang and Blessman in the middle are tough. They're big boys. They got good ends. They got good linebackers. And I tell you what, Barron Miles loves to blitz the quarterback. They're going to be coming after him. They're going to try and force turnovers. It's going to make for a good game, but I think if Buck Pierce, our offensive coordinator, calls a game that I like to see, a little screen, maybe a couple draws, I don't want to play the sideline stuff. I'd like to play a little stretch defense, too, to make these DBs run. I think they would be okay.
When you talk about Barron Miles blitzing a lot, what can Winnipeg do offensively? What can Buck Pierce do when you don't have your number one quarterback? You have Chris Streveler, who we know is not the most dangerous passer of the football, but we know he can run. Yeah. I don't know if personally, I'll ask you a question with a statement. I don't know if I'm comfortable using Chris Streveler with a moving pocket. I don't know if I want Chris Streveler to throw rolling out to his left or his right. I don't know if I would want that for a quarterback that maybe struggles to be completely accurate all the time or consistently accurate. He is accurate, just sometimes he's not, right? So
most of the time he's rolling out, it's on a pressure situation.
Here, come back to the microphone, Chris. Come back to the mic.
He's trying to extend plays, but you asked two questions after you've diverted away from the one. You asked me about blitzing, and you started talking about Streveler rolling out.
What can they do? What can they do?
Here's the issue with blitzing. If they bring a halfback out the right side or the left side, you got to make sure your quarterback and the receiver on that side are on the same page. Yep. If they're bringing an extra guy, there's a hole in where that guy came from. There's going to be an opening, whether it be zone, whether it be man. That receiver has to see that, see the guy coming, cut back in, alternate his route, change his route. You're not going to run the same pattern. You're going to go to where he came from. The quarterback and him have to be on the same page. If they don't see that, a lot of times your quarterback's counting clouds. So, but your point about the other point about, Streveler running out sidelines, most of the time I don't think he's doing that because we used to hate that. We used to have turnback. It was called turnback protection. Very good protection. But you're basically cutting out half the field. You know what I mean? Because you're rolling to the right. Now, we had good protection backside, then he could throw backside. And that was always a very successful play. So he'd roll to the right and hit a ball deep to the left. That was a very successful play. But again, your receiver, and the biggest thing I guess I'm trying to emphasize is your receivers and quarterback have to be on the same page. I know that Streveler had all the reps this week. He knows this offense. He was here before, Buck. But the receivers haven't. And that's the scary part. So is Nick Dembski going to be the guy that goes deep and, does a corner route or a goalpost route, or a fade or whatever you want to call it? Is he going to be the guy to get deep balls? Because who else is going to run the deep ball? It's not Wolotarski. Maybe Josh Johnson. Maybe the new kid, Kevin Siricius. I don't know. Like I said, I look at when I look at Ottawa's receivers, Ackland, Justin Hardy, who nobody ever talks about.
They're good.
Braylon Addison, who was a stud in Hamilton before. Dominic Rhymes, who hasn't even shown up yet this year. I mean, he's playing, but he's basically being non-existent. He's got 9 catches.
So
that guy
if I was Chris Streveler in the huddle right now, Chris, I would say
now you're going back
you are getting distracted by the other team's offense. You're comparing Winnipeg's receivers to Ottawa's receivers.
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
Well, because they're not going to play against each other.
But because I'm telling you about experience, DB.
Well, yeah, and Dru Brown's numbers are off the charts. They got a young quarterback, and they got really good receivers around him.
It's he's being there.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I just didn't want you to go down.
That's why I'm making the comparison. We've got rookie receivers, except for a couple, and they've got receivers that have been in the CFL for a number of years. Yeah. I'm going to give you an Angela. I'm going to come across the screen and give you an Angela Moscow right away.
Okay.
Head slap. Bam! There you go, brother.
You want me to check you? I'll check you. Okay. So here's their receiving core: Mardner, rookie. Yep. Rhymes, vet.
Good.
Addison, vet. Okay. Hardy, second vet. Season. Ackland
had a great year, 1,000-yard receiver.
Yep. Second season.
1,000-yard receiver.
Ackland, vet. Yeah, I hear you. But they got young guys too.
What's your argument?
I'm just saying, they're not all veterans.
Well, of course they're not all veterans. But I'm saying they have more experience at the receivers
no doubt.
than we do.
No doubt.
Oh,
no doubt.
You know what?
I don't know. I've never
had a drink in 3 days, but you're making me want to have one today.
No, stop it. I've never been of the opinion that it's like Winnipeg's offense should be compared to their opponent's offense, because it doesn't matter. It's Winnipeg's offense. They're playing against Ottawa's defense, and they're playing against themselves. What can they do? I agree. Ottawa's offense and Ottawa's receiving core, no doubt, is a more experienced group, and that's going to help them. But that means nothing compared to, when it comes to Winnipeg's offense and what they're going to be able to do. This is where I wanted to go, Chris. I just didn't want you to go off on Ottawa's offense, right? Lucky Whitehead reportedly ready to sign with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. My question to you, Chris, is this the right move for Winnipeg?
What was the question?
You're that frustrated with me, hey?
Yeah, I'm just arguing. I'm trying to say, you said, what's the right answer? What's the answer?
You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Lucky Whitehead, is this the right move for the Blue Bombers to make?
Yes. But it makes me wonder why a guy like that is not. I mean, the thing about Lucky, which I really like, I know he's a fan favorite, and he's got great speed. But the thing is, he's got experience, but he's been injury prone. He hasn't played a full season, I think, and that was one of the things when you look at BC. That's the reason you got to let go of BC. BC has so much talent out there. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? I mean, and I see they're getting Keon Hatcher back now, too. So, I mean, they're just getting more talent. And, and sorry, the reason I got distracted, sorry, DB, I'm going to tell you the truth. Yep. It is pounding rain here. I'm looking out my window here, and it is thundering and coming down. And I just felt my house lift up, so we might be taking a little trip here. I think we might be doing a little Noah's Ark here. So
they're talking
the animals are lining up my front door 2 by 2. What does that tell you? Woo!
They were talking about funnel clouds in the area. So, all joking aside, everyone stay safe and, call your loved ones. Make sure, check in on everybody.
It's coming down. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm so sick of this rain. It's just too much already, man.
Lucky Whitehead was not re-signed by the BC Lions. There were some questions going into the season of why that was the case when they appeared to be a little bit thin. They went younger and obviously cheaper, with Eberhardt and, and then Cotoy re-signing him, a handful of their guys to help out Hatcher and Alexander Hollins. They're big money guys. They're big play guys. But for Lucky Whitehead, I mean, you watch him on social media. He has always been chiseled out of marble in incredible physical condition. Looking that way is one thing. Lungs and your breath and that type of fitness, the aerobic fitness, is sometimes another thing. But I have no doubt Lucky Whitehead is going to be a similar skill set to what he was when he was in BC and what he was in Winnipeg. It may take a couple weeks for him to get involved, right? As far as settling into the offense.
I agree with that. It may take a week. They might push him a little harder to get him in there. I mean, obviously, he can return as well, but I think the biggest thing with him is to put him in a wideout. And he's one of these guys, he's got that great speed. Your point about conditioning is well put. He hasn't probably done much. I don't know. Maybe the guy's been running. Maybe he's been waiting for the opportunity.
Oh, of course. Don't get ready, stay ready.
Well, you think that's a great point. You think about that. You think about why haven't nobody else grabbed him, though? I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, if there's other teams that could use a lucky Whitehead, so it's a little strange.
No other team than Winnipeg that suffered the injuries they did.
Exactly.
In the receiving
and I noticed today, I just want to throw this out there. It was nice to see the big man, 6'9", Shawn Oakman signing with Edmonton. That was wild. I mean, I know you're not a big fan of him, but I mean, anytime
not
you're
anymore.
6'9",
he's 32 years old. You're that big.
So half our team's 32.
Huh?
Half of our Bombers are 32.
Yeah, but half of the Bombers who are 32 were perennial all-stars. Shawn Oakman, an all-star?
He was an all-star last year.
Not last year.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
He came, Chris, if he was an all-star last year, tell me why the Argos signed him for league minimum and then cut him.
Yeah, he's obviously had some issues. I don't know. Maybe
now who's talking out there, you know what?
I know, talking out my backside. I was a big fan of him when I watched him play, but they got Toronto. I'm not going to get to Toronto right now, but they do have a good defensive line right now, Brinkman and those guys. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just like. But anyway, yeah, going back to Lucky, I think Lucky will add something to our team, and I think he'll make us a better team as long as he stays healthy. The worst thing is when you sign a guy and he comes back, he's not healthy all of a sudden, and he takes a big run, and next thing, hamstring time. Yeah. Now you just brought another guy in, and knock on wood, that doesn't happen, but you know what I mean? That's the concern. That's the hesitation about bringing other guys in who have been around. Is there history? Have they been injury prone? Are we going to? But Bombers are in a situation. They're in a dire situation. They need somebody to spark this offense.
Yeah,
they need someone to spark it.
Speaking of a spark, as I try to make a nice segue here,
do it.
If you're feeling a little off, if you want to make some changes, Pure Lifestyle is Winnipeg's premier proactive healthcare facility, advancing healthcare excellence. And what's great about Pure is they have a brand new minimal wait time, minor injury and illness walk-in clinic. Strains, sprains, breaks, you got a deep cut, you need some stitches. Pure's got you covered with their minimal wait time, minor injury walk-in clinic. Whether it's on the job site or sports-related pain, their brand new medical facilities have in-house x-ray, casting, stitches, and get you back to enjoying summer in no time. Located in central Winnipeg, just north of Polo Park, 1129 Empress Street. And they've got just awesome facilities, as you see there, medical, wellness, strength and conditioning, occupational health, preventative health care. That includes diet, exercise, mental health, and all of those good things. Go check them out, purewinnipeg.com. And book yourself an appointment. We had somebody join the in the live chat and in the comments just a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I think it was, or they said they went to Pure, booked an appointment. They're going to go there moving forward because they were really impressed with the outstanding facilities and great people. So thanks to purewinnipeg.com for supporting us here on Bonfire Sports.
No kidding. Who's been the longest on these comments that we've had every week supporting us? Do you know?
Oh, I mean, Phyllis is always there. She's an OG, no doubt. T-Will, Waiters, of course. Who else has always been there? I mean...
Okay. The reason I'm saying that, DB, is I want you to put all the people that you know have given us a thumbs up and these guys that have been here and supporting us week after week after week.
Yep.
I want you to put them in a thing. I'm gonna donate my 2 tickets to you, DB. I'll send them to you. I got 2 great seats for the Bomber game tomorrow. I'll donate them. You'll give them away.
Okay.
That's the kind of guy I am. So we just want to reward these people for staying with us and sticking with us.
That's awesome, Chris.
You know, making our show what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, hit the live chat right now, everybody. If you want a pair of tickets to Friday's game, Bombers RedBlacks at Princess Auto Stadium, hit the live chat right now. Be sure you're subscribed And be sure that you follow Bonfire Sports on Instagram, Twitter, all those places, Facebook, if you're there as well. But hit the live chat. So if you're able to do that, you'll have to be on YouTube or on Facebook to hit the live chat. And follow Ezra's advice. Don't hit it. Smash the like button. I've been telling people, don't hit the like button, but you can hit it. You can hit it today for Chris.
Yep. I want to do that because I think it's nice that we've got Scotswood, we've got Pure Filter, we've got all these great companies coming in there.
Yep.
We're probably going to get a few more eventually because Darrin is doing a good job of making sure some people get on board with us because we need to get them on there. We need a brewery.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Chris is thirsty.
I'm
ready?
thirsty, but I tell you what, it's going to be good. But anyway, we were digress. Let's go back to
I'm
the
your
game
agent
here.
now.
Yep. You can, yeah. So far, I've got 7 dozen pierogies. That's good, man.
Well, I got Ukrainian connections, right? What can I say?
There you go, man.
Chris, the Blue Bombers defense will have their hands full. You wanted to touch on the Ottawa RedBlacks offense, and I pulled them up a second ago, but worth taking another look. Armstead has been their running back while their number one guy, Devontae Williams, remains on the 6-game injured list. But Dedman, another player, their deadly kick returner, CFL All-Star perennially, will serve as kind of a change of pace and a nice piece there. But Hardy, 1,000-yard receiver, Rhymes, 1,000-yard receiver, Mardner, an absolutely monstrous physical frame on the Canadian rookie. Ackland just catches everything thrown his way. They've got a very, very talented group here. Oh, I shouldn't forget Braylon Addison, very explosive, great route runner. Dru Brown, our old pal from here in Winnipeg. He's got a pretty good offensive line. They've kept him upright. They've allowed him to operate Tommy Condell's offense this season. This Ottawa RedBlacks offense scored 23 points against the Blue Bombers back in week 2. It was a 23-19 RedBlacks win in Ottawa. I think Winnipeg's defense did a pretty good job in that game overall. There wasn't a ton of explosion, not a ton of big plays like they allowed against the BC Lions. I hate to digress to it or refer back to it, but Winnipeg needs to score more than 19 points. They got to put up 30 and let the defense do what they've been doing all year.
Can't be living off field goals anymore, and that's the biggest thing. But there's another thing when you're talking about the Ottawa. Wow, he can kick. I mean, I got to give him credit. That was a great kick. Bomber record, I think is fantastic for a young man. But the one guy that's really intriguing to me is Raquel Armstead, the running back for Ottawa, who really had a great game against the Bombers. He had 16 rushes, 95 yards, averaged 5.9, broke off one for 31. This is a horse. They've got a good running back. So, I mean, that'll be another thing to watch. Obviously, they got a fullback in Anthony Gosselin, who's 6'5", 230 pounds, big boy. But, yeah, they got a good offense. I think that Dru Brown seems like one of his second-year guys, or maybe third. I'm not even sure how many years he's been in the league now. I know it's his first year starting. That doesn't seem to get rattled. Mm-hmm. He's got incredible composure for a young man. And I think that'll be interesting to see if our defense shakes off whatever they have to shake off, and just basically get after Dru Brown. I need to see Ali Fayed and I need to see Willie Jefferson just coming off the end. And you know, obviously Devin Adams is doing good. He leads the defense with 2 sacks. Jake Thomas is in there making 12 tackles. I just need the defense to create turnovers. Bombers right now are not getting the turnovers. They were number 1 in turnovers last year. Mm-hmm. And they are not getting the same results this year. And that affects them too, because they're not defeating drives. They're letting drives go on. And even if it's 3 points, they're giving points to the opposition. So,
Winnipeg not making any huge changes on the defensive side of the football. Who am I forgetting here? It was, Terrell Bonds remains in at corner. Forgive me. I got to scroll down to it.
Come on. What are you looking for?
Bridges comes out, and they're going to bring in Griffin.
Michael Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Michael Griffin to back up the defensive backs, but I think Tyrell Ford has been really good for a first-year player. Obviously, not a rookie, but time in the NFL. This is his first year playing games in pro football out of the University of Waterloo. Evan Holm, I mean, some people criticizing Evan Holm. Oh, he missed a play here, or he missed a big play there. I think overall he has been very good. You guys know how I feel about Dietrich Nichols. And Bonds, I think, as a rookie playing boundary corner of all places, very, very tough spot, has been excellent. Brandon Alexander, I feel that he is back to being more physical, the more physical presence that Bombers fans have come to know and appreciate. I really like Retta Cramdy. Very smart player, very physical player, great dime backer. And to have Brian Cole kind of rotate in with Wilson and Big Hill, Shane Gauthier comes in at times. I really do see, though, Chris, that this defensive line, ravaged by injuries with 3 projected starters all on the 6-game injured list, leaving the Bombers with a rookie here, a rookie here, a rookie here, a rookie here, and a rookie here. You got Willie and Jake Thomas as the vets.
Yeah. And who's the kid that just started practicing again this week that you were talking about? They were really high on him and he got hurt in training camp.
Taiwan Garbett.
Back, and he was practicing again this week, I believe.
Yep, Taiwan Garbett.
And obviously they saw something in him to keep him around. So he's back on he's on a practice, or I guess he'd be on a practice roster right now.
No, he's still on the 6-game. You are allowed to practice after 4 weeks on the 6-game injury list. So he started the season on the 6, Taiwan Garbett. Could very well have been a week 1 starter had he not been hurt. Miles Fox, serious upper body injury. I don't expect him back in a month and a half. Celestin Haba had surgery. Don't expect him back in a month and a half. Noah Hallett is back practicing again. He started the season on the 6-game. That's a nice thing to have Nick's brother, Noah, there. Jake Kelly, I'm not too sure about. Lawler will still be a while. Cameron Lawson, I don't have an update on either. Jamal Parker, I'm not sure if we'll see him again this year. Dalton Schoen will miss the rest of the season. And Kirik Wheatfall, again, I am not too sure on the Blue Bombers rookie receiver who had 111 yards in his CFL debut in week 2. So Winnipeg is beat up, and we've talked about this here on Game Day Winnipeg, Chris. Injuries are never an excuse, and it's almost like, some of us maybe cursed it a little bit. I hate to say it, but like their best players were all healthy. Now Zach Collaros will miss week 5 as the Bombers look to avoid going to 0-5. What are the keys to the game, Chris Walby, to see Winnipeg capture victory number 1 this season?
Well, for me, it's points. Points. You can't get off these slow starts, man. You can't live off field goals, just as I mentioned earlier. And you got to protect the ball. And why? Do you know the Bombers have 9 turnovers, the worst in the CFL right now? And I think that Brady, this thing really, I was really upset. Brady he's got to carry the ball more than 10 times a game. Do you know that he only carried the ball twice in the second half?
Yep.
You're in the game. Why is he not carrying the ball more? That just drove me nuts. Defense, you got to get off the field. And if you can, create some sort of turnover. And now you mentioned Dietrich Nichols. He almost snared that sideline pass, which would have basically put Winnipeg in the victory column on that little sideline pass from Jake Mayer. He just missed it. And our special teams, I just say, you know what? I'm not even worried about our kicking game. Sergio and Jamison have been doing really good. But the other guy that I think I think our cover teams really got their work cut out against Devontae Deadman. I think you really got to keep him in check. Don't let them swing the field position. And those are always keys to the game.
I love it. I think the special teams have been better as of late, both cover teams and the return game. So maybe Chris Smith was the shot in the arm they needed. I think Mike Miller, as a first-year special teams coordinator, has done a good job noticing those areas where they need to be better, making some changes, making some adjustments. But tough test Friday night against Devontae Deadman of the Ottawa RedBlacks. Defensively, you know what? I think you hit the nail on the head, Chris, and I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. Some of those veterans need to be a little bit more consistent on that defensive side of the ball. And I mean, you won't call them out straight up. I'll call them out. The offensive line, they need to be better. They need to be a lot better, more physical, dictate more what's going to happen at the point of attack. Then they'll give Brady the ball more. That's
I agree with you. Listen, I mean, you know what? When this old line was playing so good, we threw so much sugar on these guys that I was getting diabetes. Now, I'm just saying, you got to drink the sour juice. It ain't pretty, but sometimes you got to do that. So I just think they're going to get, I think they'll be getting better. I think that they know it. I know they talked about it. It's no fun. And you don't even know what's going inside that locker room, because when you start losing, you get little cracks in the armor. And not everybody's, you got 45, 50 different personalities in there. It takes one bad comment to get stuff fired up. So, and I've seen it. We used to have fight in the locker rooms before the game. So,
really,
this thing, oh God, yeah, it was. But that's just part of the game, man. Everybody's strong. You're ready to go. You're fired up. Somebody makes a stupid comment like, "Come on, offense, start moving the ball. Get us some points, you jackasses." Next thing you know, shut your mouth. And next thing you know, bang, 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 bang. Then you got Bob Molly wrestling everybody before the game. You got Tyrone Jones and James West punching each out in the head before the game. So this is great, man.
Wow.
It's football, baby.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, and I'll finish with this, Chris, as we'll let you out. I know you got some big plans this afternoon in the downpour of rain with family and friends.
I don't know if I can get out of here now.
There are people out there writing the Blue Bombers off in 2024. They're 0-4. They're injured. Season's over. They're not going to do anything this year. I think you and I are on the same page with people that know this league and follow this league closely. There is a lot of football left to play. It's foolhardy to write off any team right now, especially a team like Winnipeg that has the talent, has the coaching, and has the belief inside their hearts and minds that they can win and play winning football.
That was a good crack there, boy. Thunder. The big man upstairs.
That too.
Big man upstairs, just like his dog.
The football gods are listening to me. That's why.
Yeah. I'll say this, DB, and I agree with you. And I know you mentioned this a couple weeks ago on our show. BC started 0-5 one year and won the cup. So
2011.
So you never know. And anyway, I've also just sent those 2 tickets to you. So you've got tickets to this game, and I don't know who's going to go. I can't go, fellas. I have my son's birthday. It's actually today. Clayton's birthday, my son's birthday. So we are going to go and hopefully have a couple. But if we don't today, that's why I'm going to the lake. So, but anyway, that's why I'm not going to the game. That's why I'm not going to the game. So I just want to say, I hope somebody enjoys it. And for all you guys that support us, thank you. God bless you, man. We love it.
No, appreciate it. All of you out there, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you want those Bombers tickets, make sure you are following us on all of our socials, including here on YouTube, and share the show with your friends. Send it in a DM or link them or whatever you got to do. Retweet, whatever. That helps the algorithm and all that stuff, fancy stuff in the background to help propel this show forward, because we want to stick around for you guys, for our great sponsors, Scotswood Links and Pure Lifestyle, Pure Winnipeg. Be sure to check them out. More info in the description below. Chris, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Happy birthday to the young one. And if they're a young one anymore, I don't know about that. But enjoy. It's going to be a fun one. Dru Brown against Chris Streveler on Friday night.
Amen. Enjoy the game, fellas.